Hi, this is Margo. This is Sunday, June 23rd, 2019, 4:54 p.m. Pacific Time, United States of America. So we're going to be looking at methane today, and I'll do my weekly methane report from the NOAA data. And we're also going to look at sulfur dioxide and the release from Raikoke Volcano and what it looks like on cams. It's pretty spectacular, and follow up on that. And then we'll do our earthquake report. So I hope everyone is doing well and is safe and is having some time to get some things done and to also reflect on spiritual matters, because that's the most important thing as we head into these end times. So CAMS, the latest data from CAMS is from Friday the 21st. So I have that and the Arctic view pulled up and the surface level pulled up. I've already loaded up the movie. So this is where it left off on Thursday. We can see a release coming up on Svalbard first thing on Friday, and this has been periodic off and on. And remember, that's where the world seed vault is, buried in the permafrost that will be melting if the temperatures keep up like that. We also are showing high releases in the Scandinavian areas, especially in Finland, high release over here in Siberia, and you'll see as the movie rolls. But I want you to watch the different colors of green that are coming up. The lighter colors denotes more methane, higher methane levels. And remember, this color code changed, the color ledger changed back in December of 2018, and what is now like these lighter greens was yellow, was in the yellows range. So that's the way it is. So here we go. We've got large releases in Alaska. We've got a large area that's releasing in Canada now. We've also got this area in Russia that's releasing. We're also seeing waves coming up from China. So the waves is a new thing. I mean, not new forever, but it's new for this year. And we're seeing more continued release in the Kara Sea, and we can see an arm moving around there. Here's that release on Svalbard. It popped up on Friday, and I don't know if it's going to pop up in the forecast period or not. And then we're seeing lighter colors of green coming up through this is coming up through the sea ice in the Chukchi Sea all the way across. And I'll do a sea ice report in the next couple of days. I'm really not wanting to do it today because it'll make the show too long. I want to keep the show fairly short. So there's that. Now let's look at we'll go to the North Pole view. And you can see pretty much the whole northern hemisphere here in this view. So we'll load this one up. So we're still seeing high releases in the United States. It's coming back down through that Mississippi Valley again. High releases off the eastern seaboard of the United States here. High releases in Southern California. You can see UK is having high releases. Parts of Europe having very high releases. Here's Saudi Arabia. Here's northern India. Here's China over here. And this is the Kamchatka Peninsula. So that Raikoke Volcano is about here in the Kuril Islands. So we're not really seeing methane release preceding that. Here's Japan. They have high releases. So overall, we can see more blues coming up in this northern hemisphere. It's not as solid with the greens, but don't let that fool you, because methane did increase today or this week on the NOAA images. It took a nosedive last week, but it hopped back up this week, so it kind of makes me wonder about their reporting or the instrumentation, or who knows what. I don't know. I think you really have to track it over a very long term to get the overall picture. You can't really say from week to week, say here's the trend. I think it has to be more like from month to month and season to season. So we'll go to the global view now, so you can see what methane is doing in your part of the world. We are seeing high releases in New Zealand. We'll load this up. Right down here. It's hard to see in this view, but it's on the southern end of the northern island. It's very high releases. High releases around the edges of Australia. Here's the eastern side. That's how you can see where the edge of the continent is with these methane releases, because since they changed the color chart, it's all blue down here and you can't really see the continents. Okay, let's take a peek at 500 HPA now. This is about 18,000 feet up, or halfway up into the atmosphere. We can see very high releases over here in China and Asia, and pretty high releases over here in the Arctic going across. And but we're seeing more areas where there are areas where it's yellow and orange rather than just solid red. I mean, I've seen it worse. Last summer it was a lot worse. but we're also seeing the green going further south, which is not a good thing, because that means that the higher levels of methane are mixing in as it's going up in the atmosphere. So let's move on. I'm gonna leave that as a backdrop for right now. Now let's do our NOAA methane report. I downloaded these images from the NOAA website today, and this is from, they have two satellites orbiting, METOP1 and METOP2, and they take readings. They both take readings in the morning and in the afternoon, so there are 4 readings every day, and then they have like 100 different levels. So this says pressure 469, but to get to this chart you click on the 477 millibar icon. So here for the morning of METOP1 for yesterday, the 22nd, the mean was 1877 parts per billion, and the range was 1521 to 2301. And here's the color chart down here. So 1521, well, that keeps popping up, so you get the idea. 1521 is in the orangey, like this bright orangey range, and then up into the fuchsia it can go up to 2301, and we can see that up here. Wherever we saw like high releases on cams, it's kind of like that. Then from METOP1 in the afternoon, we have a lot of white areas where they had missing data, and the gray areas are missing data as well. But just assume it's filled in with some kind of color. It's not that there is no methane, they just don't have data. The range in this reading is 1484 to 2283. The mean was 1876. So here for METOP2 on the AM, we have more missing data here and down here. The range is 1491 to 2315. The mean was 1854. And here's METOP2 in the afternoon, and we have some areas of missing data here and here, things that look like an exclamation point. The range is 1441 to 2279, and the mean was 1853. So I took those numbers and plugged them into my spreadsheet for 477. I took them all here and added them and divided by 4, and the average for that level this week was, or from yesterday, was 1865 parts per billion. And so that went up from last week 3.5 parts per billion. And since we first started doing the readings from March the 1st, it's increased 7.75 parts per billion. So here's the chart. Here's from March the 1st, where we started at 1857.25. And so it's gone up and down and up and down, and now Here it is today at 1865. So here's where it's bringing back up from last week. So there's that. Now I have an article to share before we talk about the volcano. Here it is. This is from Yahoo News, yahoo.com, from yesterday. Curiosity rover finds gas leaks on Mars, hinting at possibility of life. So there's the rover digging on Mars. Says it's easy to get jaded about potential signs of life on Mars, but a recent discovery might raise eyebrows. The New York Times has learned that NASA's Curiosity rover has detected startlingly high levels of methane, the gas typically produced by life as we know it. The quantities are still tiny at 21 parts per billion, but that's 3 times the amount Curiosity spotted during a surge in 2013. Maybe methane is going up on Mars too. The rover's operators were reportedly surprised enough to pause regularly scheduled studies to obtain follow-up data, with the additional findings slated to arrive on June 24th. Just what would produce the methane isn't clear. It could represent recent or even current microbial life, possibly underground, but it could also represent geothermal reactions or ages-old methane finally escaping to the surface. The one certainty is that any gas will have appeared relatively recently. Reactions with sunlight and chemicals would split the molecules within centuries. If scientists can confirm the presence of methane, the greater challenge is finding ways to study it in more detail. The Mars 2020 rover and other upcoming vehicles are meant to look for the ingredients of life, but not to verify the possibility of existing life. It could be a long time before there's a definitive pronouncement on what the gas represents. Well, we have seen quakes on Mars, so if they've got Mars quakes, that means that they've got rocks and plates that are moving, and why wouldn't they have gases and chemicals and stuff like what we have on the Earth? Why wouldn't they have something on the inside, magma in a core? Why wouldn't they? In which case, they would have gases escaping when the crust moves and the rocks move and stuff like that. Or if they have microbial life, or even life forms that are not microbial living there, they're going to create methane. There's so much we don't know, and we only know what they're telling us. And I think this is a form of self-disclosure. This article is getting us used to the idea of life on other planets, and we're not alone, and E.T. phone home and all of that. So now we're going to go back to CAMS. And I was shocked when I saw this today. This is sulfur dioxide from today. And I have the Pacific View pulled up. Sunday the 23rd. Total column. So here's the North America, South America. Here's Alaska, the Aleutian Islands. Here's Kamchatka, here's Russia coming across, here's China, and so forth, Korea, and so forth. Australia is down here. So remember I showed yesterday a much smaller release. It was dramatic, but it was much smaller than this. But on my report on the Raikoke Volcano, which is a little tiny volcano over here in the Kuril Islands that has not erupted since 1924, it's come back to life, and it released two explosive blasts that the ash went up 43,000 feet on both of them. And it's still kind of erupting, but it's gone down to 15,000 feet. So this is what, and look, this is from today. So this is the additional sulfur dioxide that's coming up, and it's spreading across the Atlantic. I mean, not the Atlantic, I'm sorry, the Pacific. And it covers the Pacific Ocean there. And I want to play the movie just for today so you can see where this is headed because of the wind and everything, jet stream. So it's kind of spreading out, but this main cloud is still coming across. And so that's going to get caught up and come over the Arctic as well. And so with rain or snow coming down on that sea ice, that will be acid from the ash and the sulfur dioxide and sulfuric acid and all that, and it'll melt that sea ice that much faster. But see, it circles back up and goes right over that sea ice. So now I want to go back to yesterday so you can remember what it looked like yesterday. Here's what it looked like at the beginning of yesterday. It had blown up and was starting to spread out here. And you can see the shock waves coming across, but when you go to, now let's compare that to today. That it's unbelievable. I've never seen an explosion like this. And I've been looking at cams now and learning it for over a year. I started in April of last year doing my videos. And you can see the shock waves of that explosion coming all the way down and all the way across the over here, over North America. It's basically circling the globe. It's unreal. And this is the name of this, the English name is called Hellmouth of that volcano. Well, we now know how it got its name. Now this is at 500 HPA, and you can see the black cloud that's darker than the color chart. So, and you can look, see how it goes all the way around the globe. It's unreal. It just blows my mind. Let's go to, let's see what this looks like on the North Pole view. Here you go. Here we can see it here, and we can see the ripples going all the way around, going out, comes across the North Pole, and even comes down over the continents it's just coming around the globe. What a force. So I'm thinking that energetically we could be reacting to this too, because this is a huge force. And I was not feeling well yesterday at all. And okay, nothing from surface level there. I meant to get total column. So when you look at these other volcanoes like Popocatépetl and things in Hawaii, it's like a little peanut compared to this. So this is massive. And I can't believe this has not made mainstream media. It blows my mind. And that probably shook the tectonic plates too. Why not? And we've had some pretty incredible earthquakes in the last 24 hours. So I'll show you what this looks like on Worldview today. It's coming from right here, so we can see the ash cloud coming across from the satellite view. It's kind of mixing in with the regular clouds, but here it was from yesterday when it popped up. It blew a hole through the clouds and was shooting that stuff up. And then here it is today. You can barely see, you can just see the discoloration of the cloud, the plume going across here. So you can't really tell much. And then let's refresh this so that we have the latest. This is on the Raikoke Volcano. This was updated this morning at 7:38 a.m. Cloud warning for aircraft in the Aleutian area, and they're showing where it's coming across. While the eruptive activity at the volcano itself has calmed down to much smaller ash emissions, it is unclear whether it is a pause or the ending phase of the recent volcanic eruption. In the meanwhile, the high level, up to 43,000 feet or 13-kilometer altitude, ash plume continues to drift eastwards over the northern Pacific and has reached the Aleutian Island chain. VAC Anchorage, which is monitoring this busy airspace, routes between North America and Asia, issued a warning and shows the affected area in the graphic attached. I already showed all that yesterday, so there's that. Now, moving on, let's check out the Oroville Lake levels. Okay, the 5 o'clock reading was 895.88. The outflow is 3990. The inflow is 4961. The highest inflow today was at the 4 o'clock reading, it was 5475. And they've had the outflow down around 24, 23, a little over 23. And apparently Gate 8 released a little bit of water. We don't know if that was an accident or not. But people got excited because they saw water coming down the spillway. So we don't know. So the lake level went up 0.08 feet yesterday from midnight to midnight. And it's gone up today 0.09 feet. It was at 895.79 at midnight. So not quite a tenth of a foot. Now let's get into our earthquake report. We're looking at USGS from all magnitudes for the last 24 hours. And they're showing 220 earthquakes worldwide. Of those, 36 are 2.5 magnitude or higher. So let's see what's... Okay, this 4.9 at Changning, China is about to come off the map. I think I showed that yesterday. But we'll go ahead and zoom in here and show it again. There were two here, and this was the second one of 4.9 at 5:28 yesterday afternoon. And these times I'm telling you are Pacific time because that's my time zone. Then we've got a 2.9 at Puerto Rico, and another 2.9 Puerto Rico. Those are at after 6 o'clock. So I'd like to start over here with this one in Italy. We don't see them here very often. It's right next to Rome and the Vatican City. Right here is a 3.4 near Kelowna at 1:43 this afternoon, 12 kilometers deep. So that's not big enough to do damage, but they probably felt it, and we don't see them here very often. And so it's very, very near Rome and Vatican City. Then there's a 4.7 near Sarpol-e Zahab, Iran at 9:51 this morning. Next, down here, a 4.6 near Bihar, Indonesia. This is Sumatra, so it's just off the coast of South Sumatra at 3:46 this morning. Here's a 4.5 near Samlaki, Indonesia at 3:38 this morning, 155 kilometers deep. And here's one, and this is where we saw a large one. We saw what, a 6.4 over here last week, and large sulfur dioxide release here. 4.5 near Abhayapura, Indonesia at 12:04 this morning. Then a 4.7 near Lautoka, Fiji at 6:23 a.m. 4.9 near Nodoi Island, Fiji at 11:42 a.m. 503 kilometers deep, very deep, and the deep ones will make the plates move around the planet. Then at L'Esperance Rock in the Kermadec Islands, we have another 5.3 at 11:52 last night. This is where they had the cluster of big ones come in. So that's all for the South Pacific. Coming on around, here's a 4.6 near Pagan, Northern Mariana Islands at 4:23 this afternoon, 178 kilometers deep. Japan is clear. Then we had a new earthquake in the Sea of Okhotsk of 4.4 near Okha, Russia at 2:01 this afternoon. Now this is just across this volcano. Raikoke is right along in here. So could they be related? No doubt. And it's very near this red line, which is the tectonic plate. This is where the plates meet. This is the North American plate that comes around, and this is the Eurasian plate. Now let's come on over to Mexico. Here was one on land at 4.7 near Jesus Carranza, Mexico at 12:35 this afternoon, 141 kilometers deep. And a 4.3 near Puerto Madero at 11:03 last night. Then here's one off the coast of Panama, a 4.6 near Rio de Jesus at 8:42 this morning. And then we have one off the coast of Chile, a 4.6 near Tocopilla at 10:09 this morning. So that's all of the international quakes. Now we'll switch to all magnitudes here. Here's Hawaii. For the last 24 hours we're showing 10 earthquakes, and they're really moving across from Kilauea over to Mauna Loa. It looks like it's a whole line of them. We normally see them over here or over here, but it looks like they're just marching across. So I don't know what to say. Except it's showing movement. Here's a 2.5 at Mauna Loa, 2.1 Pahala, 2.7, they're calling it near Kilauea, 1.8 Kilauea, 2.3 Kilauea, 2.7 Kilauea, 1.9, they're calling it Pahala, but it's up here. Here's a 2.0 Mauna Loa, 2.0 Mauna Loa, and a 1.8 Kilauea. So it looks to me like the magma is moving through chambers where these volcanoes are connected, like an underground highway for the magma. That's what it looks like to me. And when it moves, it causes the rocks to shift. And then you get your earthquakes. Okay, now in the Caribbean we have 25 today, so that's an uptick. So let's see how many of those are above 2.5 magnitude. We've got 10 that are 2.5 magnitude or higher, so I'm just going to call those off. And then there are 15 more that are less than that. Here's a 2.9, 2.9, 2.8, 2.8, 2.8, 2.7, 3.3, 2.9, 3.3, and a 3.8. That's the highest one, and that was on land near Guaymate, Dominican Republic at 12:58 this afternoon, 125 kilometers deep. And that was the only one that was actually on the land. Here's Guaymate. It's not very far from it. 2 kilometers. And here we had a little cluster of 4 near Tierras Nuevas Poniente, Puerto Rico. So now let's move on up to Alaska. We've got 85 here today. Of those, we only have 3 that are 2.5 magnitude or higher. So we're going to start with this 2.7 south of Alaska. And here's a 3.1 at Atka. And a 3.1 at Arctic Village. So those aren't huge, but showing movement. Here's a little one, 1.5 at False Pass. And then we're going to come on up. Here's the Cook Inlet. Here's a few peppered around. Anchorage is showing more here today. In this viewing area, there are 32. Here's a 2.0 Big Lake. 2.3 Big Lake. That's basically Anchorage. This whole area is Anchorage. It's just different reporting stations. And then you can see the movement as it's spreading up. We have a few more in the little armpit here. Here's another ice quake. A 1.7 ice quake at Yakutat. Here's Fairbanks. What's here? Look at this cluster. We've got 4 here at Badger. And then here, okay, here's a stray, a 1.5 at Unalakleet. Here at Kobuk, we've got 13 today. And these are in the mid to low ones and under. And then we've got some more up here in the north. We've got 6 up here at Arctic Village in Koktovik. So there's Alaska. And now coming down into the lower 48. We're showing 84 here today, but those 84 are packing a punch, trust me. We're gonna, this is kind of freaking a lot of people out over here. So we're gonna start over here in Oklahoma. We have 2, a 1.7 at Edmond and a 1.9 at Enid. Arizona's clear. Utah is clear. Yellowstone is clear. Now remember, the earthquake makers are not at work today. The blasters are at home because it's Sunday here in the States. So they're all at home doing whatever they do. Up here in the Pacific Northwest, we've got 7 on Washington. We've got, here's a 1.7 at Gold Bar. And here's a 0.6 at Amboy. And then look at all of these. These are clustering. And this is Mount St. Helens in the crater. We've got 5 in the crater here today. Point 1, 0.4, there's a 0, 0.2, and a 1.2. And then this one was also reported from Amboy, this 0.6, but it's down here. And there are no tremors today. I don't know why. Or from yesterday. That's the latest that we can do. Search shows 0. 0 epicenters. Unless their monitoring system could be having problems or something. So I can't believe there are no tremors. I just don't believe that. Now remember yesterday we had a whole bunch. I'm going to go to 7 days all magnitudes so that you can see what has happened here, what happened here yesterday, just to refresh your memory, or in case you didn't see my report yesterday. There was a whole bunch right here on the edge of this Juan de Fuca plate. There were 2 over here in the Cascadia subduction zone, and there were 2 over here that I've already reported on. That was on the 21st and that was on the 20th. But these, we find them here. These were all yesterday. Then the latest one is this orange one, this 3.1. It came in last night at 7:12 p.m. So that was not on the map when I did my report, I don't think. So we've got 11 right here. And they started. Now the first one was on June the 20th at 10:23 p.m. And then there was okay, that first one was a 4.2. Then there was a 3.2 on the 21st at 3:03 p.m. And then the event started on the morning of the 22nd at 5:43 is when the 5.0 hit, and then they were going every few minutes or seconds after that until yesterday morning at 7:26, a 4.6, and then nothing until last night. There was a 3.1 at 7:12 p.m. And then coming on down here at this fulcrum point, where all these plates meet, and this is the San Andreas fault line that comes up. There had been 2 in the last 24 hours. There was this one. This is the one that has gotten made a lot of headlines. There are 2 right here. There was a 3.3. This is the reporting station is Petrolia. This came in at 8:27 last night. And then a 5.6, same place, at 8:53 last night on land. 5.6, that's huge for there. So people were freaking out. And then there's a 3.9 out here in the ocean that came in today at 3:39 p.m. So that's what's going on right there. So I'm going to turn off. I'm going to go back to 1 day, all magnitudes now. So remember, this is the fulcrum point, and I like to look straight across. A lot of times we'll have earthquakes straight across. If we have something over here, then we have something straight across over here at Pyramid Lake. And sure enough, we had one just north of Pyramid Lake at 0.8 at 11:01 last night. And so the rest of Northern California is looking pretty clear. This is Lake Almanor. This is Lake Oroville. And we had one over here at Portola, a 0.3 at 2:52 this morning. Now that's right next to this little lake. I don't know what this is. Maybe it's this is called Marble Hot Springs Road, so I don't know what that little lake is. But and then down here was a 0.8 near Truckee, just off the highway. It's very mountainous there, so it was up in the mountains. Then coming over into Nevada was a 0.8 near Dayton. Okay, we saw Pyramid Lake. And then we've got 3 at Hawthorne. This 1.1 is the largest. And then we've got a 0.8 at Warm Springs. And in southern Nevada today we're seeing 2. Minus 0.3 near Pahrump and a 0.8 near Alamo. So that's quieted down. So look at the drop in the number of earthquakes when you don't have all those quarry blasts and explosions going on. So we've got 3 at Mammoth Lakes. We've got a 1.0 and a 1.1 at Round Valley. And a 2.4 at Mammoth Lakes. Here's a minus 0.1. Here's a 1.2. Those are reporting station is Beatty, not Bailey. Then in the Coso area and Little Lake, we've got 6 here today. This 1.4 is at Inyokern. Here's a 0.9 at Wofford Heights. And then these are at Little Lake. These are small. That 1.5 is the highest one. Now in Southern California today we have 27, so that's a low number. They're all under 2.5 magnitude. So we can see them peppered around. No blasts. We can see them in pairs and singles here and there. Look, none at Glen Avon. It's quiet today. Here's one in the ocean. Sorry. 1.3 near Las Flores. 1.4 in Moore Park. Here's a 1.7 Isla Vista. Here's a 1.1 Vincent. And now coming up the San Andreas fault line, here's a 2.6 at Parkfield. 1.8 Boronda. 1.7 Pacifica. 1.9 Concord. And then at the geysers we've got 18 here today. So that's a drop in number. And their low ones are under. So we'll go ahead and back out. Uh-oh. Okay, we had two that just came in. Let me get a drink of my tea. I'm losing my voice. This one came in Colombia, South America, 4.4 near El Tara at 5:30 this evening, 130 kilometers deep. And then this is at Japan. Look, it's just offshore. It's a 5.2 near Tateyama at 5:11 this afternoon, 48 kilometers deep. Well, that being in the ocean didn't cause any damage, but it's a big red dot. It's a huge red dot. Okay, let's see if there's anything else that I missed. They changed that to El Carmen, Colombia. What was it? El Tara? Something Tara. They changed it to El Carmen. Well, I'm losing my voice, so I'm going to go ahead and sign off. We've gotten all of these others. So, I believe we are in the end times, and we need to prepare. And the best way to prepare is spiritually. If nothing else, get your spiritual house in order so that you can be ready to leave when it's time. I think it's soon. But no one knows the day or the hour, so just be prepared. So, until next time, God bless you, go in peace, and good night.